Welcome to Let's Learn 2024 D&D, where I go over a different rule of the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in 2024. This is for people looking for a quick rule refresher or looking to get into the game. Today, we're talking about weapons and foci. Let's learn. In 2024 5e D&D, weapons are broken down into a couple categories. Proficiency in weapons is mostly determined by your class or species, but other features also give you proficiency with weapons as well. The two categories of weapons are simple and martial. The class you pick will usually specify if you have proficiency in these categories when you read your class's benefits. So simple weapons are often available for most classes. They are weapons that would not be very complicated to learn, so clubs, daggers, great clubs, and the rest I'm listing or showing on the screen right now are simple weapons available to you. If we remember back to our attack roll video, we would know that if we don't have proficiency in a weapon, we can still use the weapon, we just don't add our proficiency bonus to the attack roll, only our ability modifier. Martial weapons are generally more skilled weapons that would require more formal training. Martial weapon training is generally given to characters that would normally be trained in these multiple types of weaponry. So fighters, paladins, rangers, and barbarians are good examples of classes that can pretty much pick up any weapon and know how to use it. Just because your character doesn't have proficiency in a weapon doesn't mean they can't ever use one. There are ways we will talk about in the future that give your spellcaster or other non-martial proficiency character the ability to do that. So each weapon deals damage when you hit with it. The player's handbook weapon chart shows the damage dice you would use when you hit. An example is a club. The simple weapon deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage plus your strength modifier, while something like a greatsword would deal 2d6 slashing damage. Now, I mentioned both bludgeoning and slashing. These are called damage types. We'll talk about those at the end of the video in a very simple way. It's not too complicated. So do you remember 2 seconds ago when I said we're going to keep it uncomplicated? Well, I lied again. And that's a consistent rule to know, is I'll be lying about some definitives I say because some rules break these basic rules, but it'll be very clear once we go over it. So in most cases, when we swing a weapon or throw something, we use our physical strength, and therefore we add our strength modifier to our attack roll and our damage roll. But there are weapons that characters can use that can also use your dexterity modifier in place of strength. These are finesse weapons, as well as certain ranged weapons. This will get a little confusing for a second, but bear with me. There are a number of different properties weapons get, and each one means something different when it comes to how a weapon is used. Like I mentioned, finesse lets you use dexterity instead of strength for attack and damage rolls. Another example is a heavy weapon requires you to have a strength of at least 13 to use it. There are a lot of properties weapons can have, so let's go through them real quick and then get back to talking about ranged weapons. So here's a brief description of these now, but it would be good to read up on each one for your weapon when you pick it. Ammunition. The weapon requires you to have some form of tangible ammo, such as arrows or bolts for bows and crossbows. Finesse, as I mentioned, lets you use dexterity instead of strength for attack and damage rolls. These are usually lighter, more precise striking weapons like a rapier, a dagger, or a short sword. Heavy weapons give you disadvantage on attack rolls if you don't have at least 13 strength. There are also heavy ranged weapons that require you to have a dexterity of 13 to use it without disadvantage. Improvised weapons are a little obscure. A brief understanding is it is any random object you try to hit with. You don't generally add your proficiency bonus to it. Light weapons allow you to attack with a weapon in your other hand if both of them are light weapons. So if you're holding 2 daggers, you can swing one with your action and the other with your bonus action. Loading weapons only let you attack once a turn with it, regardless of the number of attacks you can make with it. Range is 2 numbers that are assigned to any ranged weapon or weapons with a thrown property. The first number is the distance you can throw or shoot the attack without disadvantage. The second number is basically the farthest you can fire with disadvantage. An example would be 30 and 90. Anywhere within 30 feet you can fire normally. Anywhere outside of 30 feet and up to 90 feet you can fire with disadvantage. Reach is the weapon's ability to hit creatures further away. So if a weapon has reach, you can hit targets with a melee attack that is 5 feet further than you normally could. This also applies to our opportunity attacks, and we'll break that down in our action economy video. Thrown weapons basically let you simply throw the weapon. A quick example is a dagger, and whatever modifier you use to attack with it, you can also use to throw it. So since the dagger is a finesse weapon, you can throw it with your strength or your dexterity. Thrown also means you can draw the weapon as part of the same action of attacking with it. We will cover drawing weapons and stowing them in the action economy as well. There's kind of a dynamic to it. Two-handed weapons require the weapon to be held in two hands. This simply means you can't have something like a shield or a foci in your other hand. Versatile means the weapon can be wielded in one or two hands. Usually wielding a weapon in two hands means it will deal more damage than wielding it in one hand. Mastery properties are unique to each individual weapon, and we will cover those in a later video. So now that we know weapon properties, I want to clarify that under weapons in the player's handbook, there is not really a somewhere in ranged weapons that specifies you normally use your dexterity for your attack and damage rolls. That rule is in another section of the book, so that can be confusing if you're first time looking at it. So to understand the most complicated part of this, for weapons that have the thrown property, you use your strength modifier for throwing it, unless it has the finesse property. But for ranged weapons that use ammunition like bows, you use your dexterity for attack and damage rolls. So basically, if you swing the weapon, you use your strength most of the time. With finesse, you use your dexterity to swing. When you throw, you use your strength, unless it has the finesse property, in which you can also use the dexterity. And if you shoot the weapon, you use your dexterity. Also note that each weapon comes with a different variety of properties that may determine what you choose ultimately. So now that we've covered weapons, I want to talk about spellcasters' equipment needed to cast spells. For clerics and paladins, they utilize a holy symbol. And wizards, warlocks, and sorcerers, they utilize arcane foci. Holy symbols come in a couple different varieties: amulets, emblems, and reliquaries. One of these is needed by a cleric or paladin in order to perform their magic. Types of arcane foci come in different types as well. It can be a crystal, an orb, a rod, a staff, or a wand. Regardless of which you choose for your character, it's largely flavor for how your character performs their magic. All of these weapons have a monetary value, but a lot of it is included in starting equipment your characters get when you pick your class. So our last topic for today is damage types. Here are the damage types: acid, bludgeoning, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, piercing, poison, psychic, radiant, slashing, and thunder. Most weapons, like bows, swords, and the like, usually do bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, while other effects that are generally caused by class abilities or spells will often do these other type of damage types. They're all pretty straightforward, and I don't want to overcomplicate things for them. Just know some damage types are better or worse against different monsters, and we'll talk about that more when we go over resistances, immunities, and vulnerabilities, in which I'll re-explain this. And with that, thank you all for listening to the Let's Learn. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. If there's another topic you want to cover for the 2024 rules of Dungeons & Dragons, or have a question about the topic just covered, leave a comment. The point of these is to be educational, informative, to help introduce the game to people who may not have played before or want to get back into it. So thank you guys.